My name is Jennifer Kennedy, and I'm going to be talking about Psalm 46. God is our refuge and strength, a very present help in trouble. Therefore we will not fear, even though the earth be removed, and though the mountains be carried into the midst of the sea, though its waters roar and be troubled, though the mountains shake with its swelling. Selah. There is a river whose streams shall make glad the city of God, the holy place, the tabernacle of the Most High. God is in the midst of her. She shall not be moved. God shall help her just at the break of dawn. The nations raged, the kingdoms were moved. He uttered his voice. The earth melted. The Lord of hosts is our refuge. The God of Jacob is our refuge. Selah. Come behold the works of the Lord, who has made desolations in the earth. He makes wars cease to the ends of the earth. He breaks the bow and cuts the spear in two. He burns the chariot in the fire. Be still and know that I am God. I will be exalted among the nations. I will be exalted in the earth. The Lord of hosts is with us. The God of Jacob is our refuge. Selah. So the first thing I wanted to talk about is in the very beginning where he says, God is our refuge and strength. And one of the things I wanted to say is that there's a juxtaposing in this psalm of other things that are refuges. In Scripture, often the mountain is a refuge. The bow and the spear, those are often things that we view as a refuge, something that will protect us or take care of us. The chariot, or what we would now call our car, those are things that we look to protect us, to take care of us, to get us what we need or where we need to go. And God's saying those things aren't your refuge. I'm your refuge. And the next thing that he says that's very important is he calls himself a very present help in trouble. We often, culturally, we have often got ourselves into the idea, the deist idea, that God set things running and they just keep going, and you figure out what the rules are in Scripture, you do the best you can and make it work. But he says he's a very present help. It means he's always there to help, always around to help. In another place in Scripture, it says that he upholds nature. He upholds it. He keeps it going. Sometimes we think that our prayers should be a certain way and not another way. And when I was a child, one of the things that I was always taught was that don't pester God, always asking him to help you. Not that he has better things to do, but that you have better things to pray. But that's not true. Help is one of the things to pray. There are lots of things to pray for, and help is one of them. And here's the example that I have when my daughter, Selah, was very little. She was very dependent on her pacifier. It made or break her, and it would make loud noises. At least she would make loud noises when the pacifier wasn't around. And I remember praying many, many, many times as I was searching under beds or behind couches or in very weird places for her pacifier, that God would help me find it, because it was the middle of the night and she was screaming or whatever it was. There was always this emergency, this need for a pacifier. I remember feeling so stupid, and I remember saying to God at one point that I felt so stupid that I had to ask him one more time to help me find Selah's pacifier. And I remember feeling such a great peace, an understanding that God is there to help. That my job was to ask him when I needed help, not to not need help anymore, but to know where to go when I need help. So here we are in this time, and we need help. Some people think we need to turn to these scientists, and some people think we need to turn to these scientists, and some people think we need to turn to these politicians, and some people think we need to turn to these politicians, and nobody quite agrees, except that they know that nothing's the way it was before, and they're not sure whether that's good or bad, depending on who you're talking to. And the thing is all their refuges, all their places they go to for help aren't there. They've been swept out from underneath us. But the one refuge that hasn't changed is God. And we can call out to him when we need help. And in this, one of the things I like about this psalm is it's not like, oh, I need help. Pardon me, I don't have any toilet paper, which is a need. I mean, if you don't have toilet paper, it's a really big need. But there are people who have really big needs. I mean, there's people who have hunger needs right now. There's people who have desperate needs. There's people who are living alone and they aren't allowed to go anywhere, and Facebook isn't enough. People have needs right now. And when we look in Psalm 46, the mountains fall into the heart of the sea, and the sea foams up. I'm going to call that a pretty bad time. Pretty low on the list of things I would want to see in my lifetime. I live in the mountains. I don't want them falling into the heart of the sea, and I don't want the sea foaming up, because that's bad. So Psalm 46 tells us that God is a refuge and a strength, a very present help in trouble. So if you have trouble, there's a very present help that doesn't go away. And the main point of the whole psalm is to be still and know that I am God. To be still and know that I am God. To be still and know that I am God. There's a lot of safety in that because we can't see over the horizon. Some people are afraid looking over the horizon. Are we facing a depression? Some people are afraid when they look over the horizon. Are people going to start dying like flies? People are afraid when they look over the horizon. Are we going to lose all our rights? People are afraid because they can't see. But I'll tell you who can see, who looks above and looks down and sees where we're going and says, all things work together for good for those who love him. And who also says that he has conquered everything, even death. So as we look ahead, we know some things. We know that he is a very present help in trouble. We know that he sees where we can't see. We know that no matter what we face, he will work it out for good. And if we can know those things, we can be still and stop trying to be God ourselves. Start recognizing that he is God and he knows and he can be trusted, and that all I have to do is be still and know who's God, know who to trust, know where to go. I hope that helps you. It helps me an awful lot to be still and just to let God remind me that there's poppies and remind me that my children are a gift, even when sometimes they drive me nuts. And to remind me that my husband comes home every day. And to remind me that I have friends and I have a church. To remind me that I'm not in charge. To remind me that I can trust him. So I hope that helps. And it was nice to talk with all of you.